This week, I worked on the juiciness and polish of the game. Juiciness is a broad term to explain the feel of a game. If I had to summarize juiciness, it is what brings a game to life. In a shooting game, it is what makes every bullet impactful. In a fighting game, it is what makes combos satisfying. And it is what makes collecting loot after defeating a boss so rewarding. It is an abstract concept and almost invisible to players. Let's talk about implementing juiciness in the game. I had a list of things I wanted to juice up. I'm going to go through all of them and show you how the game looked before and after applying all of these effects. I started with the grid animation. Now the animation eases in and out, which looks a whole lot better and much more refined. I added a tap animation, so now it makes it feel like you're actually tapping a tile. I also added a flip animation, so it just doesn't change the color but also flips the tile. The game is already looking better. I have these UI buttons in the game, but when pressed, they don't feel satisfying. So I added a sprite swap to make it look like the button is being pressed. Changing levels or restarting a level looked very abrupt. Adding a short fade animation makes it look much cleaner. The level select looked a little bland with the same colors, so I decided to spice it up. I used a color palette to change the colors of the different level sets. But I wasn't a fan of how it was looking. Some of the colors looked good, but not all of them, so I decided to disable it for now. Tapping an inactive tile didn't give any feedback. I added a vibration and a small animation to let the player know that they have tapped on an inactive tile. I added an animation for loading a level. All I did was add a delay when spawning the tiles. It also plays the flip animation for the active tiles. I think this was one of the best effects added. I also added a trail renderer to the finger position. Somehow I feel this is very important for mobile games. I also added a tiny particle effect for tapping the screen. I changed the star animation. I felt like winning before didn't make you feel rewarded enough. And with this animation, everything feels a little more satisfying. And instead of just changing the winning losing text, I slowly increase the opacity and move it to place more emphasis on the outcome. I also changed the title and added this ripple animation to make it a little less bland. This took way longer than I'm willing to admit. The final piece was adding sound effects. Sound effects are the lifeblood of a game, and they can do so much for a game. I added a sound effect for every interaction in the game. This completely changed the dynamic of the game and made everything pop. Finally, to give the game a little more personality, I added music. This was a long process, tuning and perfecting the timing of these effects. But it was finally complete. This is how things looked before. This is how things look now. What a stark difference. The game feels complete and so much better. Everything is so much more vibrant and everything is popping. Adding juiciness can make or break your game. Pay extra attention to this. Add particle systems, animations, lighting, camera shake, sound effects to make sure your game captures what you want your player to feel while playing the game. For example, in a horror game, set the tone with dim lighting and ominous music. And for fast-paced shooter games, add muzzle flashes, impactful sounds, and recoil to the gun. There's a lot of material on this subject, books, articles, and videos. And after working on all of these effects, I cleaned up the project structure and I called it a night. Next week, I'll be working on making the game more accessible and the options menu for the game.